author of Synchronicity, The Art of Coincidence, Change, and Unlocking Your Mind.
Very good. Dr. Surprise, welcome to the Anthony Duva Show. You are live and on the air.
Thanks for having me on.
I have to say, first thing I have to say, because this really got me. When he called you, and you answered the phone, you're like, hello, Dr. Surprise. I would hire you as my doctor just to hear that when I answer the phone. That is so cool. I love that. That is amazing. Like, Dr. Surprise, can I help you? Awesome. Even if I was deadly sick, that would put me in such a good mood.
Even if you would die.
That sounds so positive. I love it.
Well, I have to ask you, are you a medical doctor or is this a PhD doctor?
I'm a licensed psychologist with a PhD doctor.
Wow, you're a licensed psychologist, so you can psychoanalyze. My co-host is crazy.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Certified to be nuts.
So,
yes.
yeah, if you want to lock her away for a 48 hours emergency of psychological evaluation, please be my guest.
Just 48? You think you can get it in 48? I think I'm going all week.
It would have to be 72.
72-hour emergency psychoanalysis.
I can have you going for at least a week. And that's nonstop.
Oh, trying to unlock the secrets of Ashley's brain.
That should be the next book.
Ashley's brain?
Yes, the Synchronicity too. The art of being Ashley.
Well, no, Synchronicity is a great title. What in Synchronicity? What are you referring to? Actually,
talk to us about it.
Synchronicity is those strange coincidences you see in the environment that seem to sort of comment on what you're doing or reflect what you're thinking.
Okay.
If you're hanging out with some people talking and they're listening to the radio show and they say something and suddenly the radio seems to comment on it from out of nowhere.
Yes.
Those are synchronistic events.
And how do those happen? That just sounds like random happenstance.
Well, they'd be some of them are random, except that some of them are particularly meaningful. Like they happen, that just can't be more than, has to be more than chance sometimes. In psychiatry, sometimes we call them thoughts of reference, where somebody is thinking something and then something in the environment seems to make reference to what they're thinking. And, sometimes they're coincidence, but very often they're actually, there's a meaning involved.
Is there some, like, ESP involved here? Some extrasensory thing happening where our brain is sending out a vibe and the universe is sending it back to us? Is something like that going on?
Well, there's two parts to it. One part is that the universe that you're seeing around you right now is actually constructed by your brain. You're taking billions of digital sensory signals and your brain assembles them into the reality you're in right now. You're actually not sitting in a studio, you're sitting in an area of your own brain's memory. And a lot of it's added and deleted along the way. And the brain looks for patterns.
Am I in the Matrix here? Am I in the Matrix?
That's what I was just going to say. It sounds like that movie, The Matrix.
It does.
I know the steak is...
They almost got it right, except...
They almost got it right!
He's sitting there and he's...
external computer.
He's sitting there going, the steak is juicy and delicious. And then he's like, and I know it's not real, but ignorance is bliss. I just always remember that scene. It's like, it's not real.
But... So you're saying that instead of a computer, a mechanical computer, our brain is doing this to us?
Our brain's the computer. Yeah.
Yes. What you're seeing is a representation of what your senses feed into the brain. It's actually constructed in memory. Your brain is the universe's largest supercomputer.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
As far as we know. I mean, that's not obvious when you talk to some people, but,
today,
actually, and your brain looks for patterns. Like there are so many patterns in the environment that, you cannot be aware of all of them. It would be overwhelming.
Yeah.
The brain filters for what you've been paying attention to recently. It filters for what your belief systems are, what you found interesting in the past, and it highlights those. But beyond that, there is an actual maybe 3 to 6% change in the actual environment, depending on what you're thinking and feeling. And we've known that since like the 30s. So what I'm doing in the book is I'm telling people how synchronicity works and that they have this sort of amazing ability to actually create these coincidences around them.
You can create these coincidences for yourself?
Absolutely.
Okay. How if... I mean, I don't want you to give the whole book away, but an example of one thing, maybe. Just...
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Enlighten us.
All right. So when I first realized that these events are reflections, there's nothing behind them. It's like you're actually looking at sort of a mirror reflection of your thoughts and emotions. So to test this idea out, I decided to try to play chess with the environment, looking for coincidences that would provide the moves from the opponent. So I set a chessboard up in my head, sort of, and started looking. And the events follow the pattern of your attention. So what you're looking for causes the events to happen more often. So within a few days, I had, met two guys named Bishop, and there were references to knights and checkerboard patterns and all this. And I actually got 3 moves into a game, using coincidences from the environment to supply the opponent's move, and then the game sort of fell apart because, quite frankly, I can't hold that much information in my head.
I was just thinking, that's like the Seinfeld episode where he was having the brain versus the penis in a chess match. That episode. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be crude, but I don't mean to be crude, but that's exactly what it sounded like. The brain versus the penis.
Oh, but were the moves? Okay, I'm this chess game. Were the moves real moves? I mean, did the universe have a good game going?
Moves out of it.
So you
what
had
I was getting was, I know what the opening moves are.
Okay.
Now, in your brain, you have things called mirror neurons.
Okay.
And what they do is, they can create simulations of other people. That's how you know what the people in the room with you are actually feeling, because part of your brain creates simulations of other people so that you can sort of, play off in your head, well, what might happen if I do this, and how are they going to feel if this happens?
It's like daydreaming.
Well, in a lot of ways, yeah. I mean, the brain is doing this all the time for you. Now, the ability to reflect things from the environment is happening normally to everybody all the time. People are reflecting their complete belief systems, their psychodynamic backgrounds, all the time. Only sort of in this culture, we're taught to ignore these coincidences as unimportant. But if you actually pay attention to them, you get to see, projected into the environment, what your conscious, unconscious, and sort of transpersonal selves are doing. So, and like I said, the New Agers have it sort of wrong. Some people will say, well, you create your own reality. Well, no. In the actual external world, you have about 5% influence. What you do have the ability to do, though, is to look and see what you're thinking unconsciously mirrored outside you. And this is more than just like some sort of heavy-duty psychological thing. This is fun. I mean, if you're into Star Wars, or you're into mythology, you're into some particular story, you can look in the environment and see the stories playing back at you. Sort of like, James Joyce's Ulysses, only in your life.
That's really interesting.
It's kind of bizarre. It makes you rethink everything about yourself.
Yeah. You wrote this book now, but how far back was this kind of theory going on? I mean, did the ancients believe this? I mean, the Mayans, the Aztecs. I mean, were they onto this, or how far back? The Egyptians?
Anybody
Norman Bates?
Anybody that's ever had a religious or magical system has bumped into this. So, for instance, you have guys on your show, and they have, political, religious views, different from yours, not your system.
Yeah.
And you wonder, how can they possibly believe this nonsense?
Yeah.
Well, what's happening is they reflect their beliefs out into the environment. Synchronistic events mirror them very directly back, and they take it as a confirmation of what they believe. And people have been doing this for forever. The oldest cave paintings in France are the shaman dancing in a stag mask, trying to get the game to show up. Because they knew that somehow your internal states are linked to the external environment. Now, it's not a huge difference, it's like 5 or 6% maybe, but it's there. And, they've been measuring this since the 1930s. They haven't had a good explanation until now. And, what I'm saying is, this is normal. That, people are taught to ignore this. But, like, we teach our kids at the very beginning of their lives that there's magic in the world. Wish upon a star, genies and lamps, all this stuff. Then when they're 5 or 6, 8 years old, we say, no, that was all nonsense. There's no magic. Just grown up and being in the
There is no Santa Claus.
Right. Well, what I'm saying, is that synchronistic events are real, and they do mirror whatever you're thinking. The thing that makes people crazy about this, though, is the events are not necessarily true in any way. So there's been a bunch of people written stuff about synchronicity that say, let it be your cosmic guide to life, and, it's God's plan talking to you. No, absolutely not. You're listening to your own thoughts. Now, to some degree, though, your unconscious is smarter than we are. It knows more than we do. It's that supercomputer in the background that does all the maintenance. And, it will and can give us information from synchronistic events just the same way it can give us information through dreams. It doesn't have to be magical or psychic. Maybe those things are reflected in there somehow. But this is actually a normal thing that everybody listening right now does all the time. If you ignore it, the automated systems in your brain say, well, this isn't really important, let's not present it. If you look for it, it shows up really quickly.
Okay, so what would you be looking for?
Well, you're already getting around you events showing up that reflect the things you've been paying attention to a little more often than random. You can pick a pattern, like chess game out.
Yeah.
I've seen people that are into shamanism. They're into like spirit animals. They're sort of ripping off the Native American tradition. Well, if you look for instances like of birds, you'll see more of them. If you look for instances of virtually anything in the environment, they show up a little more often than normal because that's what you're looking for. Now, half of it is sort of your brain is highlighting patterns that are already there that you wouldn't have noticed otherwise.
Okay.
And part of it is, yes, you're actually affecting the environment a little bit.
Okay, so is this controllable?
Absolutely.
Thank God for that.
Well, let's put it this way. The part of you that you think of as you, that's conscious in the room right now, is about the size of a walnut up on the frontal lobe of your brain. So that's only like 5-6% of the brain. And this vast supercomputer, everything behind that is automated. It's systems that are processing information automatically for you, so that you don't have to be bothered with it. Now, because you have a choice about some of the things that you think and feel, you have a choice about some of the things that get reflected in the environment. This is like a full spectrum reflection. You don't just see the things that you choose to see. You see things that reflect the complete processes of your internal mind all at once. So you have some control over what you're going to see or experience, depending on what you want to look for.
Okay. So, all right, let's take an example. What if there was, person X and they wanted something? They wanted a better job, for example. You're working for a company and you'd like a promotion. Is there some way that you can influence the universe to come back and somehow a job would open up for you, or a promotion? Just something.
Hard work's not cutting it.
You can better your odds. I mean, this isn't miraculous. This is actually sort of borne out by actual research. You can better your odds. So, I like to think about, how we were, our ancient ancestors were. We haven't been having to worry about jobs and stuff for all that long. If you were a hunter, let's say you were on the grassland savannas in Africa, and you got these miles of waving grass patterns in front of you, and there's clouds casting shadows, and there's all kinds of animals out there, camouflaged, and you're hungry. Now, somewhere out there in the grass, there's the pattern of an antelope, but there's also lions out there as well.
Sure. Okay.
Your brain evolved to pattern match, to decipher patterns. That's what we do. That's our evolutionary niche. So, to some degree, you're going to be able to filter out the irrelevant stuff and enhance the patterns for what you're looking for. Now, you also are going to have about 5 or 6% influence extra on what actually shows up. Now, one of the things people get caught in with using this ability is it's a very direct mirror. So, for instance, if people keep going, why can't I do this? Why doesn't this happen? Well, what you get back is a reflection of all the things you don't want, because you're focusing on why you're stuck. If you actively picture the opportunities you're looking for, the patterns you're looking for, and then actively pursue them, like, running out of the grass with your spear, they'll show up about 5 or 6% more often. So, I mean, if there's no jobs to be had, you're not going to run into them.
Okay.
But you will increase your odds of finding what you need by 5 or 6% if you're aware that you can read the entire environment for the information you're looking. So one example of the way we do things now as opposed to the way we evolved is hunters nowadays will go out in the woods and they'll maybe look for a deer trail, or, they'll look for broken twigs or whatever. And they'll very linearly and logically go, okay, the grass is camped down here, that's where the deer must have been. our ancestors did it a lot differently. They looked at the patterns of the grass and assumed that the world was trying to give them information. They looked at the pictures, the clouds formed in the sky, and compared them to what they were thinking. They took note of when a bird flew by when they were having a particular thought about what direction to go. They read the entire environment as a mirror, trying to help them and give them information for what they were looking for. Now, in purely psychological terms, yeah, they're projecting their internal content on the environment. Mm-hmm. But the point is, they're still getting the information. So synchronicity both will give you information your subconscious is trying to give you to help you, and it tweaks the odds a little bit in the environment as well.
Okay, so is your book basically a guide to learning how to do this?
Absolutely. There's exercises in the book that teach you how.
Well,
a lot of the book was written to keep people from chasing their tails. A lot of people will be seeing these events often, and they get kind of delusional. Mm-hmm. Like I treat, one of my jobs is I assess reality testing for delusional and psychotic patients. And often what you'll see is somebody will see a synchronistic event, mm-hmm. and they'll wonder, wow, how'd that happen? And then they'll say, well, it must be God, or it must be UFOs, or mm-hmm. it must be secret government conspiracies, or whatever.
Right.
And then they start to see synchronistic events in the environment that seem to confirm this, mm-hmm. because it's just a reflection. But not knowing that, they take it as true, as proof of whatever they were thinking, and they, run around and chase these delusions for maybe years at a time. So what I'm saying is that, the book is there to keep people out of the pitfalls of mistaking, what they think for reality, and to teach them how to play with this phenomenon, have some fun in it, and make it useful.
Because I was going to say, because I'm going by Anthony's example, because he was saying about the job, the promotion, all that, and he says you have to see the job is available, has to be available, but a lot of us know the job is there, but a lot of us just feel we're not good enough, or what could go wrong, and that's the thing with...
That's human.
And that's why you don't see a lot of people like walking in the front door to apply for the job too. I mean, they feel that they're looking at the description of the job, and it's like, no, that's not me.
I can't do it. They already doubt themselves. Before. They know it's there. They know what they have to do to get it.
Right.
But yet they're their own worst enemy. They're kind of like making their own program, their own separate program to say it can't happen before they can even go for it.
That's exactly right. But there's an amazing thing that the brain does.
They're rerouting it.
The frontal part, the part that's you, tells the rest of it what reality actually is.
Okay.
You can talk yourself into something that you don't really believe.
God knows I've done that. I've done that many times. Foot in mouth.
Right. So, if you're looking for opportunity, you just keep telling yourself that you're going to get the job and that you can do it. And basically, this is called cognitive behavioral therapy. You get to choose what you think.
Okay.
You can choose the dialogue that you're telling yourself.
Right.
And if you repeat it enough times, the unconscious will pick it up and go, oh, yeah, that must be the way it is.
It's like a subroutine. It just keeps telling you over and over and over. Even though you know better. You just kind of do it to yourself.
Actually,
right, but the thing is, you have some choice about what you're thinking, though. And by realizing that, your unconscious, those automated systems in your little supercomputer, they queue up on what you tell it. You're the one that's out here in reality keeping it alive.
Because a lot of us know the job is out there. But we can't do it.
That's what I want, that's what I'm looking for, and it's going to happen.
Yeah. And then when it comes up, you're like, oh, I can't do that. Oh, I'm not good enough for that. And someone else comes by and gets it.
Oh, it's like, no, I think I'll find something better than that. No, I'm going to try again somewhere else,
Yeah, so I mean, even though the job opportunity, you sit there and you come subconscious and you say, I know it's there.
Right.
It's there, doesn't mean it's going to happen. There's usually all these subroutines in the way saying why you can't get the job. I'm not good enough. Somebody else will get it. They won't like what I'll bring to the table. There's always something. And that's why when he used the job opportunity as an example, I said, wait a minute, I got to come back with this.
And they're all poor excuses why people don't go in that front door.
Self-doubt.
Right.
It's a horrible excuse.
Actually, I have a question for the doctor.
Ask away.
I'm just curious, what inspired you, anything in the past or present time, what inspired you to write the book?
Hey!
Well, when I was an undergraduate, I had this unbelievable explosion of coincidental events, like dozens of them a day.
What are you
and it was
going to do?
almost like being harassed for the
Like new
environment.
software. I
And
have to
and
update.
you know, eventually
You're
I
updating
realized
your
that
software.
there wasn't
Yeah.
anything
How's it
wrong with
going?
I was just looking at
It's almost
what I was
almost
looking
done.
for.
Almost
You know,
done.
The more
For
you
the
would
Windows
focus on
8.
them, the more they happen.
You're
I got into this pattern
uploading
of
Windows 8?
sort of being
No,
obsessed
no,
with
I'm
them,
just
so they were happening
update my
constantly.
software to.
And I needed an answer.
To
I needed to know how
prepare.
this
To
worked. I
prepare,
didn't
yeah.
believe
Really? You're
I
waiting.
didn't
You're
believe it was,
anticipating Windows
you know,
8. Windows 8
phony
is going to be a
create
good
the
thing,
list
huh?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
think so?
Unfixable.
Are you
That's
sure?
what I time
Windows
say.
8 is
And I was
will
like, no,
release
see this. There
probably
must be
on
an
March
explanation.
I don't know. I
So
don't
I
think
set about
Windows 8
trying
is
to
going
find
to
a
be. I think
rational,
Windows 8 is going to be
reasonable
disappointing.
way that this actually works.
Yeah.
I'll use the
And, you
beta
know, and
version.
eventually, you know, through getting my
You're
license,
using the beta
and,
version
you know,
now?
No,
working
no,
with people over the
I'm
years,
preparing for
you know,
use it.
sort of
Oh,
figured
so
it
you
out.
get to
of, you
try
know,
the
how
beta
this-
version.
how
I
this
don't
works
know.
psychologically.
I don't have
And
a
a
good
pretty
feeling
good
about Windows
I
8.
already
Planetary
tried the last
fiction
version.
using actual physics, you
They
know, on
almost
how
changed
this is
everything, but
possible.
this time they will.
You think they got it
Do you
right?
do this
Well,
with
this time
live
they will
patients, like
release a
people who come
new,
to see
like,
you?
Everything.
Or just
new-
radio
everything
personalities.
No, the problem is when they
Well,
try
assuming you're
to
like
bring
me.
something Windows 7,
I
people
mean,
are
you
just
know,
starting
our
to get used to
computers, I
Windows
know.
7.
I could be a matrix.
And now you're
It's
gonna
Skynet all over again.
Windows 8.
I'm just a
You know,
Yeah, you know
people
what?
won't-
Yours is the
people
best
won't
source of
buy it.
feedback from the environment you
Oh,
possibly
I
want.
wish
You know, they're,
Mark,
they're
people
interactive,
won't buy
they have
it.
their
I'll
own
crack
emotions,
it.
their own thoughts. But
No,
yeah,
you see, the
Yeah.
problem is it's
I
just
teach people how to do this.
Yeah.
A lot
It
of what
co-
I do is
why
work with
buy
delusional
Windows
people and
8? Why
schizophrenics,
spend
and,
money when
that's
you've
different.
just
I try to check
learned
in to see
Windows
whether
7?
that they're
I know
reporting to
people
me
who
that,
just
you know,
bought
God has
Windows
chosen
7
something
now.
special on radio.
They're not going to buy
Talking
Windows
to them
8.
and
Mm-hmm.
all
It's not
these
going to
different
work.
events
It's going to
are
fail.
happening.
It's going to go.
I check in to see if they're actually
Windows 8
delusional.
is all
Because, you know,
it's always
sometimes people are
for-
delusional,
the
in which
new
case
system
you
is
can't
always
change what
for
they're
the-
thinking. It doesn't
for
matter what you
men
tell
to
them.
get-
But some
get
people are
something
just
new.
lost in what they're
So
thinking.
know.
for me, I was
So,
I
you know,
use
I had
it.
a
Gonna go
guy
down.
in
I
who
use it.
spent
It's
30
not going to
years
be enough
chasing
sale
events that
to
he was
support
being
it.
picked
Oh, I
on
know.
by God for
I'll
something.
use it.
Because
And when I
what will
realized he had
happen
no
is
other
2,
symptoms
3
of
years from
schizophrenia,
now, Windows
I told him,
9,
look, you know,
and
go back to
then,
your room,
okay,
talk to the television,
you cannot
and
buy a new
but-
operating system every year. You have to wait 1, 2,
So the
3
guy
years.
comes back
But
for
you
his
know,
next
in
session and
China
goes,
it's different.
oh my God,
Everybody
US
uses-
I've been talking to
consumer.
myself for
No.
30 years.
No, everybody just
Because
use
it
the
starts
new
to
one. and
respond in the
they
pattern you
didn't
look
buy it.
for.
Well,
Now,
but in the
But
US,
funny
you
that
have
it's
to
crap.
Not
pay
any
for
of
it.
your religious beliefs,
No.
but if you think about the really
It's like
crazy
buying a car. You're not going to
fundamentalist
buy a
people
car
of
next.
religions
You
that
buy a
talk
car
to,
this year, you're going to buy
and
a
you
car
wonder
tomorrow,
how
next year.
possibly
No, you're going to wait a
believe
couple
this.
of
Someone
years.
still
Right.
use
It's because they're
Windows
looking
XP.
at a mirror.
Oh yeah, I
You
know a lot of
they
people
look-
that use Windows
you know, someone
XP.
told them it was
Yeah.
true.
Yes, people like
And
Windows
they look
XP.
out into the environment
Yeah.
to
But in
see if
China,
God really
they-
works that way,
They will
and they
switch
saw a
to
reflection of
They
their
will.
own thought.
Yeah.
Everybody.
And then they
Everyone.
took it for its own reality, and then they were off and running because nobody gave them a better explanation. So what I'm doing with my book is I'm giving you a better explanation.
So some sort of direction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it's empowering because it's like, no, you know, nobody else is doing this. There's no supernatural forces involved, except maybe some that are tucked back into your brain somewhere. And this is your choice.
So
You get
basically,
to do this.
they basically,
And-
their brain is basically a computer, and you're the instruction booklet. Basically.
No, I need the wire support.
terms.
I mean, you can stay, but it's
Oh,
going to be a
You're the
little
one,
while.
you're the
Yeah.
one
No,
who
I'll check
decide
my-
where the
Okay,
brain is going to
all right,
focus
all
its
right.
attention. You know, it's like, you know, if you sometimes like you go to watch a baseball game
No,
on
you are ready, you
TV.
just-
So you
I will.
watch baseball for a couple of hours, and then you go to sleep, and you can see the baseball game playing sort of behind your eyelids.
Yeah, oh
Or you
yeah,
have
that's.
or you have dreams about a baseball game.
Oh yeah.
Or even when you have a hard day at work and you go to sleep and you dream you're at work and you wish you got paid for it. You wake up, you're like, damn, it's over. I gotta go
Your
back.
brain is still processing the experiences you had that
Oh
day.
yeah.
Right.
You know, your dreaming is processing your experiences into long-term memory. So, you know, whatever you've been paying attention to is what the brain is going to be trying to work on for you.
So it's a lifelong recording system.
Absolutely.
Ah,
Okay.
it's the VCR of life. Damn.
How have your colleagues accepted this? Do they? Are you in the majority? Are you in the minority here? I can't picture the psychiatric AMA going along with this, but you tell me.
Well, you know, I've been actually very surprised by it because I did a lot of research on this over the years. I've read thousands of articles, and nobody's ever come up with an article that says it's not real. I mean, because everybody knows it works.
Huh.
You know, since the 1930s, we've been watching this effect. There was a guy named J.B. Ryan. He was a psychologist at Duke University, and he had this gambler walk into his office one day and said, said, look, Doc, I can make the dice come up in my favor a little bit more often than random.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of throwing the guy out of the office, the guy took out a notebook and a set of dice and had the guy prove it.
Yeah.
It turns out the guy had like a 5% edge. And he spent decades tracking this down. It turns out that, if you do like a really long run, say it takes 6 dice, and you're going to throw them 100 times, you're going to record the results, and you want the number 6 to come up more often.
Yes.
Now, with 6 dice, you figure, well, your odds are once each throw, you'll get a 6. So he found out that on 100 throws in the beginning, people had this ability at a fairly high rate to like tweak the dice outcome a little. About 20 or 30 throws in, that ability dropped off, and the person started inhibiting this ability. They were getting less of what they were looking for. Then towards the end of the run, it comes back up above normal, and the ability shows up again. And what he figured out was he was seeing the person's mood and attention reflected in the throws. In the very beginning, the subjects were excited. It was interesting. It was new. They wanted to know what was going to happen. But, by 20 or 30 tosses in, it's kind of boring. They didn't want to be there anymore. They wanted to be over. So that attitude suppressed the ability. And then towards the end, this is interesting. It's going to end. It's going to be over. I'm going to get to see what happened. Their attention and their interest, their emotional state, causes it to return. And, people forget in science the gold standard for experiments is called a double-blind experiment. It's where somebody else creates the experiment, and then the person who carries it out and the subjects don't really know what's being looked for. Because we've always known that the act of observing the experiment changes the results.
Yeah,
and it's not like some unconscious tweaking. Just observing the experiment, knowing what you want, changes
You'll
the
see
outcome.
what you're looking for if you're the same person carrying out the
Now,
experiment
in
to
dice,
throw it
in
up.
throwing dice, there's not much you can recognize about yourself. But the external environment is the same thing. It's vastly rich, has lots of different colors and forms of feedback. This ability is not a physical energy. It operates as if it's independent of time and space. So you can use anything as a feedback system. Anything.
Wow, interesting. Where can people find this book?
Yeah, definitely tell us.
You can get it on Amazon, at Barnes & Nobles. It's available at various places throughout the web. It's also in electronic versions. It's in Nook and Kindle and a few other formats.
And
I have a website.
Good. That was my next question.
HowSynchronicityWorks.com.
Okay.
And we have a Twitter, Facebook page as well, some way they can learn more about it?
Yeah, there's a Facebook page as well.
Absolutely.
And if somebody wants to be a patient, where are you located from? Out of? Where?
Well, I don't work with any private individuals. I actually work for the state of California.
Oh, okay. All right.
I got a regular job.
You
You got a regular job, you say. Do you mind if I ask what your regular job is?
I'm a licensed psychologist. I work for the correctional system. I work with mentally disturbed inmates.
Oh, wow.
So does that freak them out when they hear your last
Oh, my
name is
God.
Surprise? Because I still can't get over the name. I love it. I think it's hilarious.
Is that your birth name?
What? Yeah, that's my family name.
Really?
Because I'm telling you, when he sent me the list of who's on the show, I thought it was I thought your name was Dr. Kirby. Because I saw Dr. Kirby, and I thought it was going to be like, surprise, we have a new book. And I'm like, what's his last name? And I went, oh my God, Surprise is a capital S. Is this right? And then I Googled your name, and I went, oh my God, his name is Surprise. And then when we called off the air, and you were like, Dr. Surprise. I'm like, I wish he was my doctor.
Oh, great. Wonderful.
I want to be mentally ill just so he'd be my doctor.
You want to be mentally
Just so he'd be my doctor, just so I can hear Dr. Surprise. That is so cool.
That is awesome. I love that.
Thank one of those really unique names. I love it.
Very good. Thank you. That's been fascinating. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me on.
All right.
Yeah, the book again is Synchronicity, the art of coincidence, change, and unlocking your mind. We've been talking with Dr. Kirby Surprise.
Yes, we have. All right.
Thank you very much.
All right. Good. Have a great Sunday afternoon.
Thank you.
Keep out of trouble.
Bye-bye.